Hey guys, Juan Mazo here. Today I'd like to talk about something very dear and close to my heart, which is, does society actually encourage and motivate self-thinkers, right? This is something that I've always wondered and questioned, and I always thought by default that yes, everyone loves to encourage people to think for themselves. But as you're going to learn based on my own experiences, I don't think that's quite what society looks for. So let's take it back to my high school time, right? So I'm in high school, and I go to a high school where essentially you go with the classes, the same exact classes with the same exact kids for 4 years. You can imagine that from year 1 through year 4, people start to get comfortable. And me personally, I was a really nice guy, maybe a little intimidating looking. And what ended up happening was that one of the kids, who actually turned out to be a really good friend of mine today, was turning into a little bit of a bully. He actually took an opportunity and started throwing stuff at me, saying names at me. And to me, I just let it roll off because I've been a super lax person my whole life. One day he throws a milk carton at me. The teacher whose class we were in, which was a study hall, do whatever you want. The teacher says, "Hey Juan, pick up that milk carton." And I tell the teacher, "No." And the teacher's like, "What?" "No, I'm not picking up the milk carton. Tell the person who threw it." And I had no problem saying it was that person, right? And the teacher looks at me, he's like, "Go to the office." And I'm like, whoa. Now, my whole life, I've been a pretty squeaky clean kid, always been following the rules, never stepped out of line. And I just felt like I was completely mistreated and inappropriately dealt with. So I end up going to the principal's office, and I speak to a vice principal. Senior year, the guy looks at me, he's like, "Who are you?" I explain my side of the story. Someone threw a milk carton at me, and I didn't listen to the teacher. So vice principal says, "All right, cool. Write me a paper on what you should have done. Have it in for me tomorrow, submit it, I'll review it, and I'll let you know what your punishment's going to be." So I go home and I write the paper, and I think to myself, this is completely unfair. I write the paper and say, someone threw this milk carton at me. What I should have told the teacher is it was this person, and make them pick it up instead of having me do it in front of the class and really make me feel bad about it. Write the paper, submit it, send it. I get a call the next day in one of my classes, so I head down to the class. To the principal's office. And the principal says, "Hey, so I got your paper, but this isn't the paper I wanted." And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Write to me what should have happened." And I was like, "This is what should have happened." And he goes, "No, write to me what should have happened." And so I go and I get the hint, and I'm like, okay, go back, write the paper on what should have happened. Essentially saying I should have picked up the milk carton and thrown it away. At the time, to me, I said, whatever, I was super frustrated, moved on with my life, right? Now I'm in college, right? So I have that prior experience. And in college, I run into a situation where I go to an engineering college, or I went to an engineering college, and on the same university, there was also a criminal justice college. Engineering students are highly encouraged to question things and feel comfortable to disagree. So I was taking a criminal justice course, and there was this disagreement with one of the professors that I had. Essentially, all the kids that are going to criminal justice are trying to become a police officer. They're learning the laws, they're learning to enforce the laws, and maybe they'll become FBI agents or something. Well, I had this agreement, and I was talking to the teacher about it, and the teacher goes and says, "This is not what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah." And I was pretty upset. And then he says, "By the way, go to the dean's office of the criminal justice school." And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Head over there. Turns out that he essentially sent me to the principal's office. At this point, I'm like a junior in college, and I'm way too old to be getting sent to the principal's office. So I go in, and the teacher had some choice words, but overall, he used a story to explain his position. And the story was something like, back when he was in college, he was going to his criminal justice course, probably a CJ 101 class, and there was a storm outside. And in this storm, a lot of schools closed down, but he was in class, he was in the middle of class, and he notices, everyone is getting sent home, except this class was not let out. He raises his hand and he says, "Hey, professor, there's snow on the ground, people are getting dismissed, do you think we can go home?" The dean asked me, "Do you know what I was told as a response to go home in the middle of a blizzard?" And I say, "No idea." And he goes, "Well, the teacher replied this way. He said, in here, it's CJ 101. Out there's the real world. But right now, this is what matters, CJ 101. And I told him, that's kind of irresponsible for a professor to be so tight within the guidelines of what class is and how it should be handled to not exercise his own free thought to say, snow outside, I don't want my kids to get hurt, in the middle of a storm, or to get stuck somewhere. We bring it back to that dean's office, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, there's two types of people in this world. There's the people who are encouraged to think freely, to question things, and who can disagree. And then there's this whole other side where you're taught to never be an insubordinate. You're taught to be afraid of challenging, and that there's only one way to go about things. It's not even at that moment that I realize things. I go through a couple more experiences in life, and I realize, wow, you can be really bright and you can handle people well, but you're always going to run into people who are just, it's either black or white. It's 0 or 1, and it sucks because some of those people are rather intelligent, smart, but because they've been probably discouraged, like very harshly in certain scenarios, they've been pushed to always follow the rules, be afraid, like you can go to jail. If you don't do your taxes correctly, you could end up getting audited. If you don't follow the laws and aren't strict about it, and you're not a good citizen, bad things will happen. And from that place is where people who are really intelligent, who can make a difference to the world, are trapped. And it's very sad, because sometimes what you end up seeing is the person you least expect to ever get anywhere ends up getting everywhere. And it's because they never were discouraged. They were always encouraged. If you were like a C student, at least you have the abilities to think for yourself, and that's probably why you passed, versus being able to be Mr. Xerox and just copy paste whatever letters of the law you're being trained to understand and enforce. What I'm trying to get at here is, in society, free thinkers aren't highly encouraged, although they're sought after, right? And even once you hit the corporate world, there's still chains of commands people want you to follow. There's still, this whole structure that needs to be followed that you can't really break out of. And then that's where some people just get fed up and want to go and become entrepreneurs, where they're their own bosses, where they take these high risks, where they're operating in gray areas, a lot of ambiguity. Executives operate in ambiguity, but they highly discourage anyone to be at that level who is at a grunt level to be operating that way, and for good reasons. But it's one of those things that, for me, it's just, I was raised, you can be whatever you want, question things, but then there's a certain wall once you hit certain people that there is no room for questioning. And just remember, like, if you're out there and you feel like you're suffocating under certain oppression rules, parents always want the best for you, understand that, but sometimes it just feels a little impossible. And what I just want to say is, don't worry, eventually you become an adult, you end up owning all your decisions, and no one can really question you. Never forget, there's always going to be a day when you don't need to worry about the rules, and you're going to be able to do your own thing. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Just a few parting words before we leave. My main point that I was trying to get across is that I don't believe society is actually encouraging free thinkers. I don't think that's necessarily what they want. From a high school level, you're being indoctrinated to be more of a part of a system and to do as I say, not as I do type scenarios. And that's very normal. I've seen it in high school, college, and in, as a grown adult, real life. Reality for this is that sometimes we just want people to execute. And when you're super low level, that's all you got to do to get a job. And eventually to get to the top, that's when you get to exercise free thinking, challenge people. And even then it has to be done within certain parameters and certain ways. Don't be discouraged though. Understand that it's probably for the best. And to be quite honest, the best leaders, when asked why things have to be done a certain way, usually explain. The ones who say, just because, there's probably two reasons. One, they probably are really pressed on time, and I've used that word, but only to buy myself some time to give them a response when I can give them, some more time. The other response is they're jerks. That's it. But overall, understand that you'll have your opportunity someday, guys. And if you're discouraged, if you feel like everyone's, trapping you, don't be. You'll have your chance. Alright guys, that's it. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. Shoot me an email, message, private messages. I'm available for anything you guys want to talk about. Bye.